Hey everyone, just quickly talking about communications, EMS communications in particular for this EMT1 class. Just a down and dirty of it. A lot of this stuff is in your textbook, but some of it's not, so I just wanted to sort of convey this as well. Different types of radio systems, and they love to get you on this. So understand that a base radio is the radio that is sort of mounted to the wall in the hospital, in your ambulance center, in the fire station, in the communication. It's not going anywhere. It doesn't necessarily have to be big, but it is mounted and it's not leaving. The mobile radio and the portable radio will oftentimes get people screwed up. Mobile radio, think of mobile as in car or truck. It's mounted to the vehicle. It has a pretty good power range to it. And what they'll do is they'll try to get you to screw that up in a test between mobile and portable. Portable is the handheld radio. It's the one that you carry inside. You can see the wattage is, it's 10% of what the mobile radio is. So understanding the difference between mobile and portable radio. Then you have repeater stations. So these are the towers that are around town. And to understand the concept is just to work with it. But when you click the button on your radio to actually speak, you need to give it anywhere from 1 to 2 seconds to talk to the repeater station. The repeater station takes your voice and your message, amplifies it, and then pushes it out around the county or wherever your radio system is designed to go. Many times, people click the radio and immediately start talking. So you click it immediately and just say, Medic 4 to comm center, Medic 4 is going to be en route to whatever. Everyone else in the world just hears en route to whatever, because the first 2 seconds are only used to open up the repeaters. Good radio habits are to click the radio sort of at your waist and then slowly bring it up to your mouth and stop talking. Often new radios will actually give you an audible beep when the repeaters open, and anything you say before that beep is not being transmitted. So we'll practice that a little bit, but it is a common problem in fire, EMS, and law enforcement for people not to let the repeater open. It's also really important just to have an idea what you want to say. People that click the radio and just go, it's just so have an idea what you want to say. There's a dance to this. You should not be getting on the radio and saying Medic 5 to comm center, Medic 5 is en route to the call. You need to allow them to acknowledge you. So the proper sequence of this is Medic 5 to comm center, and you wait. And comm center says, go ahead, Medic 5. You say Medic 5 to comm center again. You say the second time, Medic 5 to comm center, we're going to be en route. And comm center would come back and say, copy, Medic 5. Medic 5 is en route. So it's that closed loop communication of back and forth. Where you get yourself in all types of trouble is when you get on the radio and say, engine 1 to comm center, engine 1 is on scene of a 4-story fire, smoke, whatever. Nobody heard who you are because you clicked it too early. And B, they're listening to it, but they're still wondering who the hell you are because you talked before the repeater. And even if you didn't talk before the repeater, you didn't give them time to actually sort of perk their ears up and say, oh, someone's trying to talk to me. So it needs to be engine 1 to comm center, then you wait. Or like in Chippewa, they call it county. Engine 1 to county. County comes back and says, go ahead, engine 1. Engine 1 says, engine 1 to county. We're on scene of a blah, 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 blah. County will come back and say, copy, engine 1. Blah, 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 blah. So it's this closed loop communication that we need to practice. You have standing orders versus online orders. So standing orders are your protocols. If you see A, you should do B. If you encounter C, you should do D. But those are cookie cutter protocols. Those are like when someone's having chest pain with ST elevation, you should do this. Not everyone's having chest pain with ST, and that's the textbook heart attack. We run into everything underneath the sun. There is no standing protocol for the left-handed, paraplegic, one leg missing, blue-eyed person who's reporting blah, 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 blah. So they're out of the box, right? So those oftentimes come from online orders, which means, and you saw this in your worksheet, the legal worksheet, I think it was. No, it was a CPR worksheet. I take that back. Online orders are, I'm not sure what to do here. I'm calling the hospital. So if I was going to be going to Mayo, I would call the Mayo ER. If I was going to St. Joe's, I'd call the St. Joe's ER. And when you get on the ambulance, there are going to be dedicated numbers to a phone that goes directly to the ER doc. They are supposed to have it on their hip at all times. good luck. Most of the time, you're going to get a nurse or some type of receptionist. You just simply say, "Hey, I'm with the Altoona Fire Department, and I'm on scene of a 56-year-old male. I need to talk to a doctor," and they will expedite get a doctor on the phone. And you simply tell them, "I'm a basic. I'm with Altoona Fire. This is what I have. I need some help," and they're going to go ahead and give you that help. Those are called online orders, and that's called the medical control. So medical control is that doctor on the scene. Medical director is the person who is associated with your fire department or your EMS service, and you're working underneath their license. That medical director is going to generate the standing orders. Online orders are coming from the person on the phone. With all that being said, make sure you get some information. Your report's going to have to, if that doctor on the phone says, "Yeah, why don't you go ahead and start an IV," or "Why don't you go ahead and give them, 2.5 milligrams of albuterol," that's going in my report that this doctor told me to do that. The responsibility has now been passed on to him or her. Make sure you figure out who you're talking to. Ask them. Make sure that they know who you are. My name is Jeff. I'm on Medic 4 with Altoona Fire Department. I'm an EMT basic. Because if you don't say those things, they're going to say, "Well, why don't you go ahead and do a periocardiosynthesis and do an interosseous bone," and you're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, I'm a basic." So let them know what you're doing. Explain what you're asking for. Sometimes you're calling specifically because you know exactly what you want to do. You're just not allowed to do it in your standing order. The protocols will actually say you can do this only after you've contacted medical control. So in that situation, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do it. If you say it confidently and they have an idea of who that you sound like you know what you're doing, they're going to say, "Yeah, go ahead, knock it out." If you call them and me oh my and geez I'm not really sure, gee shucks type of thing, they're going to be like, "Yeah, why don't you just bring him in?" You don't sound overly confident in what you're doing there. Be accurate, be honest, and then repeat the orders back to them. So, okay, copy, doc. You wanted 2.5 milligrams of Atrovent? No, no, no. I said 2.5 milligrams of albuterol and 0.5 milligrams of Atrovent. Oh, okay, got it. 2.5 albuterol, 0.5 of Atrovent. And then make sure you have that closed loop communication. Questions? Just some typical things. Make sure you're on the right channel. Multiple channels on the radio. If you're trying to call the doctor, you should not be on, or trying to call the hospital with your care report, you should not be on the dispatch channel, and vice versa. Give it some time for those repeaters to open. Do not eat the microphone. The microphone does not belong in your mouth. It belongs outside your mouth, a couple inches away. Don't spit into it and garble. Just be normal. Just be cool. It'll be fine. Tell them who you are. Paint the picture, and then try to reduce that background noise. That's a difficult one. So sometimes you have to step out of the house if you want to call them. You can't exactly step out of a moving ambulance, but you're gonna maybe make a phone call or a radio call into the doctor on the radio in the back of the ambulance saying, "God, this person does not look good. I think they're gonna die." And the problem is the patient's sitting 2 feet away from you, and you shouldn't be saying that stuff in front of your patient. So oftentimes you're coding things a little bit, you're beating around the bush, or oftentimes what I'll do is I just turn around and face the front of the ambulance so my voice is not projected at them. Usually if they're in that situation anyways, A, they probably already know it, and B, they're not really paying any attention to what you're saying. Do not talk fast. If you sound panicked on the radio, you are doing an in-service to yourself, everyone else, and your patient. So just be cool. You'll be all right. We do not use names. We do not say, I'm bringing in Miss Jones from Main Street. That's a HIPAA violation because there's scanner land out there. People are listening to your radio traffic all the time. It shocks me how many people are sitting at home watching Family Feud listen to radio traffic. They just do. We're not going to swear. We're not going to use acronyms and slander. You don't have to overdiagnose it. If your radio report is longer than 60 seconds at the absolute most, actually the new radios will time you out. You hear a little beep says too late, you're over. We don't need to tell them exactly what's going on. This we'll talk about this in class, exactly what a good radio report is. We're not using 10 codes. I have a 1021. We'll be there at 1017, and once you give me a 1046, nobody knows what that stuff means anymore. We use plain language. Become hostile. Oh, don't become hostile. So yeah, don't be mean. All right, I guess that's good to know in there. Here's sort of what a typical radio report would be. I'm Medic 10, so I always start with who I am, my unit number, and how long I'm going to be there, and what am I bringing you. So Medic 10 has a 10-minute ETA with an 88-year-old female coming from Dove Healthcare, coming from home, coming from a car accident, coming from a nursing home. So they sort of have an idea of That alone gives them a lot of background. Chief complaint today is shortness of breath. Um, she currently, is breathing this way. She currently feels this. She currently has these set of vitals. Previous to that, this is what she had. This is sort of, it's been coming on for the last 2 days. We found her at this, and you can flip flop 5 and 6. So you can say chief complaint of shortness of breath came on, 5 o'clock this morning. Had 2 albuterol treatments prior to her arrival that did not give her any relief. They called 911. Since that time, we've done X, Y, and Z. Current vital vitals are 130 over 80 with a pulse of 110, respiratory rate of 18. Patient's resting comfortably. Patient's not resting comfortably. Patient is still in respiratory distress. And at the very end, I say, we'll be there in, again, 10 minutes. And oftentimes by the time you get to this point, it's not 10 minutes. We'll be there in 9 minutes because we've been talking for a minute. It's very common at the end of these things for people to say, are there any questions? Which sort of gives the person receiving the radio report an opportunity to get any more information that maybe you didn't provide. And we all sign off and you go back to your dispatch channel. Backup systems are required by the FCC. So in Eau Claire County, the dispatch center is downtown at the federal building, not the federal building, the courthouse. The backup center, believe it or not, is at ESEC, Emergency Service Center. It's in Station 9. It's quite literally a tiny little closet with a couple radios in there. But you always have to have a backup system. You hear these stories about, the floods down in Louisiana or a hurricane or a tornado where they knock out the communication system, and you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people calling 911 asking for help, and there is no 911. The system is down. And so they have to have a backup system. Sometimes they lose the backup system. And you read these reports out there where someone's assigned to sit at the phone at the fire station and just write down the information as people call it in. And they try to get the information out through rave alerts and text messages to everyone in the community saying 911's down. If you need us, call 715-855-1234. And that phone will start ringing really, really quick. Cell phones, same thing. So cell phones are a whole different ballgame. We're not going to get too much into that here. Therapeutic communication, this is an art form. And some of us have it, some of us don't. Some of us have it and then lose it as we lose our empathy. Other people never had it in the first place and can generate it over time and experience. But it's this feedback you're giving them. Sometimes it's a refocus of a question. You ask them do you have any allergies they need to know about, and they start going on about their hay fever and how last fall was just terrible. And you're like, okay, stop. Let's refocus that. Tell me about medication allergies type of thing. Silence is we're going to talk about silence here in a little bit, but asking them the question and just giving them time to process that question. You know what the question was because you asked it. You probably have a pretty good idea what type of answer they're going to give you, but you're taking them off guard. I mean, they're in pain, they're anxious. Give them time to process it. Too many EMTs will be, can you describe that chest pain to me? Is it stabbing? Is it this? Is it that? Is it that? And they start bombarding them, and the person's like, they end up just choosing one of the words you gave them just so you stop, barraging them with these questions. So these are some different examples. I think the book goes through this whole reflection, empathy, clarification, confrontation type of thing. And these are some examples that, I don't know if I came up with them or if the book did, but worth referencing. We've all seen this probably back 2nd or 4th grade. It's the person who's sending the message, the person who's receiving the message. The message can get warped a little bit through the noise in between. And there's feedback. Here's a fun little fact. So my undergrad is in communications, interpersonal communications, from a million years ago. Who do you think gets the ultimate decision on what the message actually was? So who's the one? So here's the answer. It's the receiver. So if I get up in front of the classroom and say, okay, everyone, homework is due on Friday, June 12th. And every single person in that room, or even that one person in the room said, I didn't hear June 12th. I heard July 12th. You said homework is due on July 12th. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I said June 12th. He said, no, you didn't. It's July 12th. The message was July 12th. No matter how you intended it to be, the message was as the receiver accepted it or heard it. I've struggled with this with my marriage. If you're married, the number of times you get into arguments with your spouse where it's like, that's not what I said. And yes, I did. And, well, guess what? The person who received it is technically the right one. There's a caveat, though. The receiver must be doing it in good faith. So if I tell you that the sky is blue and every single person in the classroom heard me say the sky was blue and understood the message to be the sky was blue, but that one person in the back's going, oh no, you said the sky is red because that benefits me. Well, that's malicious. So the message still was the sky was blue. But keep that in mind. So when you're talking to someone, communicating with someone, and they're going, I don't understand, or that doesn't make sense to me, or that's not how I understand it. It's upon you as the sender to revise your message. Oftentimes, most of your message is nonverbal. It's your body language or it's your inflection of your voice. Revise that to match what you're actually trying to say. Too many people just sort of blow right through it and say, that's not what I said. It might be, it might not be what you intended to say, but it is sort of what you said. Interpersonal communication. So eye contact is key. Take your damn sunglasses off. If you want to connect with your patient, take your sunglasses off. You shouldn't be staring at them through some Terminator mirrored eyeglasses. Come down to their level. You stand over them with your arms crossed, it's going to get weird. Kneel, sit, but make sure your eyes are level with them. Tell them who you are. That's one of the first things you do. Hi, my name is Jeff. I'm with the ambulance. This is my partner over here, Jen Strunzi. Or I actually don't use her last name. This is my partner over here, Jen. We're here to help you. Get their name from them. We don't have false promises. The whole nobody's dying in the back of my ambulance today. Maybe you don't know that. So we don't. We're going to do everything we can for you. I know your pain hurts, and we're going to try to rectify that as much as possible. But we don't make these false promises. Use plain English. If you sit down to someone and feel their heart rate, and you say, "Oh, you're in atrial fibrillation with this, this, and this," usually doesn't work very well. So talk in plain English. Be mindful of your body language. Sometimes you get irritated with people. They're calling you for the wrong reasons. They're not being cooperative. So just understand that I think the book says 90% or 95% of what the message is actually the nonverbal skills, not the actual words. I struggle with this one. Pet names where you're like, okay, honey, come on, dear. I especially do this with the super elderly, the old grandma females. I'm like, okay, sweetie, let's go. And I know I shouldn't, and I'm working on it. So, but we don't call people pumpkin and honey pie and whatever else. I'm going to skip that fake it till you make it. I'll talk about that. Reading lips, make sure they can see you. A lot of times, especially with the elder, they can't hear you very well, but they can make it all together. If they make eye contact and can see your lips talking and can see your nonverbal skills, together they can figure that all out. Silence is your best friend. Ask the question and then shut up. Let it go. Let them think about it. Let them come up with the answer. If it becomes too awkward, then you can sort of maybe revise your question or give them, sort of maybe help them understand what you're trying to get from them. And the last one here, and I can't underemphasize this: fake it till you make it. You walk into the room and you say, "Hi, my name is Angela. I'm on the ambulance today. I'm here to help you. What's your name?" And they tell you, and they look like crap. They look like they are circling the drain. The worst thing you can do is just go, "Ugh! Oh my God, you look horrible. Oh my goodness." If you start showing this uncertainty, unconfident body language, verbal expression, so on and so forth, you're going to freak them out. So the best thing you can do is just go, "I got you. We're going to take care of you." Inside you're sort of like that duck, paddling like hell underneath the water type of thing. You've heard that before. We go in there, we act confident, we do the best we possibly can for them, but we don't want to add to their stress level. There's a lot of communication diversity. So this is, if you're dealing with another person of similar nature to yourself, a middle-aged white guy that went to North High School and works construction. Okay, I know what's going to offend him. I know what's not going to offend him. He probably has very similar cultural overtones as I do. But you start talking with someone who maybe is a Cuban refugee, or you start talking with someone who is Spanish speaking and knows very little English. We have a large Hmong population, especially when you go to that first generation of Hmong people coming over. There's so many different things that come into play when it comes to communication that we need to be very attentive to how we do this and how we say it. One of my favorite stories to tell people is I was called to a pulseless, non-breather, obvious death in the middle of Eau Claire. We didn't even go shooting over there. We drove normal traffic because we were told it was an obvious death. And it was a first generation Hmong, I don't even know what they call them, Bua. They call them Bua, which is like their ultimate grandfather type of thing. And this guy is laid out in the living room in his burial garbs, very peacefully placed. There are no less than 50 people standing around the living room in their camcorders. This is a celebration to them. And I'm like, my first thought was, why am I here? And then my second thought is I walk in there and I just went up to him, and my only job is to basically say, oh, hey, you called me, so I have a duty to act. I'm just confirming that he has in fact passed away. And then I felt his wrist, and he wasn't cold, and he didn't have rigor mortis. And I look at my partner and I go, he might still be alive. And if he's still alive, we're about to ruin a really important ceremonial event in this family's life. So I very politely put some 4-lead stickers on his ankles and his wrists to confirm that his heart was not beating. I did a little prayer in my head, hoping that I saw asystole on the monitor, and I did. But that's just an example of the difference of diversity that we have just here in the Chippewa Valley. Modern medicine is another one. Whether people are vaccinated, aren't vaccinated, you can forget about the whole variant here that we're talking about. Just before that, just some of the other stuff that's out there. Some people are sniffing essential oils and say that's going to cure my cancer. And my mom puts an onion on the side of her bed when she gets a cold because she thinks the onion is going to absorb something. I don't know. That stuff's out there. Just be aware of it. Geriatrics, a lot of your calls are going to be geriatric in nature, right? They're hard of hearing. You are a kid. I'm a kid. I'm 40-some years old, and I'm a kid to them. Do they have dementia, or are they actually altered? Are they hypoxic, and they have a altered LOC because they're hypoxic? Or are they confused all the time? So trying to find what that baseline is very difficult. They're fragile. Grabbing their arm and shoulder and helping them up to the standing position, like you do with me, would potentially dislocate their shoulder. So you have to be very, very careful with them. They can't compensate. Their heart cannot beat faster. Their blood vessels cannot dilate and constrict. Their lungs can only carry so much oxygen. So their body cannot compensate to all this stuff. Worst day of their life, yeah. So it's difficult for them. They are living. None of these people are living in a terminal state. Empathy rules. So what that means, empathy is being able to put yourself into their position and show that type of compassion. So if there's two things, I guess, if there's two things you're going to take away from and make you a successful EMT, one is empathy and the other one's integrity. If as long as you're being honest with people and they can trust you, and B, they think you care about them and you do in fact care about them and their health as a whole, you can be a really crappy EMT. But as long as you have those two things, you're probably going to be viewed as a good EMT from your patient side of things. I may think you suck because you didn't do X, Y, and Z, but they're like, she was the nicest little girl. I'm like, yeah, she's the nicest little girl, didn't give you any oxygen. But if you can show empathy, it goes a long, long ways. Pediatrics, kids, man, they're difficult to talk to. First thing I look at is their shirt. Who's that princess on your shirt? Oh, do you like Pokemon? Whatever. Make sure you include mom and dad in the conversations. Oftentimes the kids will stay on the mom and dad's lap, but you can talk to the kid through mom and dad. There's a certain age, I don't even know what that age would be, 5th grade, 6th grade, somewhere in that maybe 8 to 10 year range when you start asking questions to the kids. But you can play off of that when you start talking to the kid. How well are they communicating with you? They are picking up on everything, so keep your facial expressions happy. Find something to relate to them. Again, is that your doll? Is this your cartoon? What's that on your shirt type of thing? Special transport considerations. Kid's not going to want to go with you. Mom and dad are going to probably have to come with them. And what happens when mom has to go with them, but there's 3 other siblings in the house who aren't sick, and there's a whole bunch of different problems there. Eye level is key. I don't care how low you get. If you want to get the kid's trust, get down to their eye level. Interviewing patients. We talked about all this already, didn't we? No why questions. Got it. Okay, so all that's there. Special considerations. Hostile patients. Man, people are going to be really pissed off at you when you get there sometimes. Whether the cops called EMS, whether the neighbors called EMS, whether the spouse called EMS, but you get there and they are pissed. The best thing you can do is sort of put all the stuff away and just try to get them on your side. Hey, I am not the police officer here. I'm not taking you to jail. I am only here for your best interest in your health. That is a great conversation to have with them. Whatever you tell me, I can't tell the cops. Legally, I can't tell the cops. So talk to me here. What's going on? How can we rectify this? Oftentimes, having the police officer leave the room or the other spouse leave the room so it's just the two of you really will calm things down. Explain that HIPAA law to them. Explain what that one reason is. With all that being said, don't back yourself in the corner. Keep a clear path to the door. I will oftentimes take the jump kit or the EMS bag and keep it in front of me, between me and them. So if they do become a little bit over the top, zealous or angry or confrontational, and they come toward me in an aggressive manner, I simply take the bag, I push it in their chest, and I walk the other way. That gives me that buffer zone. And again, law enforcement, that's Ellie. They can either help or they can hinder. Parents and kids and confidential, you sort of have to have an idea of how old the kid is and what you can tell them and can't tell them. So, the 13-year-old daughter comes to you in private and says, "Hey, I'm pregnant, don't tell my mom and dad." Ugh. You just found yourself in a really crappy situation. Or, yeah, I did try some LSD tonight. It's my first time. Please don't tell my mom and dad. Or you think maybe the kid's being abused and mom and dad don't want the kid out of their sight. And the best thing you can do is get that kid out of there and talk to him on the side and say, "Tell me about this bruise on you. What is that? Is that a burn mark? How'd that happen?" Because otherwise you ask that kid and mom and dad are going to answer for him. And the kid's looking at mom and dad going, "I better not say anything. I'm going to get my butt whooped here." Using the spouses for getting your way. So grandpa doesn't, kid doesn't want to go, grandpa doesn't want to go, whatever. So here's an example. Grandpa doesn't want to go to hospital. He's a farmer. He's like, "Hell no, I'm not going to hospital." The first thing I do is I go to his wife. I'm like, "He needs to go to the hospital. Here's 5 different reasons why." And then I just get the hell out of the way because she's going to come after him with a rolling pin and she's going to make him go. And usually he will not tell her no. Same thing with, wives and husbands type of thing. Go to the spouse, use them as your advocate if at all possible. Where the use of touch to show compassion is its communication method, but simply taking, even if it's your gloved hand, preferably maybe not your gloved hand, but we can't say that really now in the COVID world, but just simply holding their hand in the back of the ambulance, you'd be surprised at how much that simple, you're not doing it in a creepy manner, you're showing that empathy, saying, "I'm going to hold your hand because I know you're in a lot of pain." That really works. Medical jargon, don't do that. False promises, we talked about that. Let them talk. Sometimes you just need to be quiet and let them talk, or refocus them a little bit. Fake it till you make it. Yep, talked about all this stuff already. Some last things here before you get them out of the house. What else can I do for you? Do you want the lights off? Do you want the doors locked? Do you have your cell phone? Do you have your keys to get back in? Do you need your cane? What else do you need for us to bring to make this happen? Explain to them what you're going to do. Okay, so when we get out to the ambulance, this is what we're going to do. We're going to spend some time out here. We're going to do X, Y, and Z, and then we're going to take you to the hospital. Now, and then on the way in the hospital, I explain what's happening next based on my experience. When you get there, there's going to be a nurse, and she's going to ask you a lot of these same questions, and that's okay. Or when we get there, there's going to be 4 doctors, a neurosurgeon, and 5 nurses in the room, and they're going to bombard with you with questions. I just want you to mentally prepare for this, because when we go in here, this is what it's about to happen. And then there's always this paperwork. Make sure you get the HIPAA forms. There's a HIPAA form that almost every patient either signs electronically or on paper after every single EMS call. So that's the down and dirty on communications. Way longer than I thought it was going to be, but it's important stuff to understand. So we will see you in class. Thanks.